In this episode, Ryan Griggs and I discussed the philosophy of the infinite banking concept.
You know, I think on the agent side, it affects how you present yourself to the client, to the public. You talk about the distinction between attraction and promotion. And I think that promotional marketing, where you're attempting to actively persuade somebody of the value that you can bring, and you're going to pepper them from every angle on how you can do that, is a consequence, is a subgroup of that overall top-down thinking. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. And I don't find that attractive to myself personally. Like I'm not interested in telling other people what they should be doing. I'm just not. And so I focus a lot of my energy on writing and, talk about the book, draft, and blog posts and that kind of thing. And like you say, showing up, telling people who you are and what you do. And then Nelson's even said this to me. It's that, for people to get involved, they've got to want to do it.
Sure.
And you can't create that. You can't manufacture that. I can't impose that. So it's a challenge because you got to find, or at least make yourself visible to the people who would want to be involved, to become their own banker. And so I think that's for the agent, the marketing challenge, rather than how do you play the numbers game, aim for that 5%, 10%, whatever,
Talk to 100 people.
Right. Get 5, get 10, and then 5 show up, and then 2. Yeah, the whole system is. I mean, it's all part of the financial. So I'm thinking about my own YouTube videos, that I'll do and questions I'll ask. And the big question in the room is always, what is the infinite banking concept? Because it's a lot of things to a lot of people, and so you've heard the terms cash flow management system, which I don't know what that is. I mean,
QuickBooks.
Yeah, right.
Online banking,
accounting practice or something. And I come at it from an economic point of view, and it's just the best way to build capital. Well, then you got to explain capital to people, and so really, I think underneath all that, it's a way to become financially independent, to reduce your financial dependency on other people. And so you've got to have somebody who wants to be financially independent. And I mean that like full tilt, like throughout the system.
If you talk to 100 people and say, "Hey, would you want to be financially independent?" Most of them are going to say yes, I would think, and then the minority is going to say, "Oh, well, yeah, I already am." Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think everybody wants to be financially independent, right? I think. So I'm just saying that. I think before that, but I don't want to have to do anything. I just want that to happen. I don't want to have to learn anything, unlearn anything. I don't want to read anything. It's just I'm busy. I don't have any time to do anything else. I sure don't have time to travel across the state and listen to someone that you want to hear.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you just got off of a road trip going to listen to personality that you wanted to hear, right? And learn from. So look at all that. You had to plan it out months in advance, right? And you had to actually drive 4.5, 5 hours. Spend the time there, and you made it fun. Some of your buddies got together and you went and, making memories, learning something. I mean, most people want it easy. We're all, me included, I want it easy, right? Don't make it too difficult. So, but everybody wants financial independence. I'm just saying most people don't want to do what it takes. And it begins with, I think, having an open mind or the desire to learn something.
Yeah. And another part of it too is like when I meet with somebody, like the way I always start, I mentioned capital. I'm like, and I don't care where we are, we be in a business club or a restaurant or wherever we are meeting, it's always true that nobody in the room has control over their own capital. I don't care how much money you make, what your industry is, whether you're employed, whether you got a business, whether you're retired, nobody has control over their own capital. And there's problems associated with that. When you want it, you got to go get it from somebody who does have it. You get to ask permission. You get to fill out an application. You get to expose your character to them for all of the whoever on the other end.
What is your number?
Exactly. Yeah. Totally moral. I mean, even the credit score system, I think, is morally perverse.
That's what I was referring to, right? The credit score system. We've had that conversation in the past.
So you get to ask permission. There's use restrictions. They get to tell you what you can do with the money you're getting from them. And everybody knows the typical cost of depending on other people's money, which is the interest and fees associated with that. But it's really down the scale. I mean, if you take a look at the amount of time it takes to get a mortgage, to get a car loan, to get whatever, that every hour of that time has a cost. And then if you don't repay when they tell you, how they tell you, then they always have the right to call the loan due. So, just because it's in a repayment schedule doesn't mean it's etched in stone. So they get to, pay up. And if you don't, they take your stuff. And, like you said, there's never a problem until there's a problem. Right? But then when suddenly there's a problem, it could change your entire life.
Right? Drastically.
Yeah. And that's just all on the, regular use of money to buy the things that you're going to buy anyway side of things. Then over the long term, as far as building up a nest egg, the entire financial world is subsumed in this idea that the only way to save is to invest. And of course, the best way to invest is with the government. Right? We're going to use a tax qualified plan where the purpose is to separate you from control of your money. And that's like explicit. Most people, if they're engaged in the conversation about what to do with their money, they know they can't touch what they put in a tax qualified plan until 59 and a half or face a 10% penalty and whatever sort of tax you're going to pay anyway. So let's get involved in something where the express purpose is to reduce or eliminate your control over your money. And then on the other side, we're going to expose it to any number of undisclosed fees and just the fundamental risk in the market. Like, that's the thing to do.
The stated purpose for qualified retirement plans is Social Security is not enough. It's only meant to be an adjunct or stopgap poverty in retirement. Right? Mm-hmm. And you're not saving enough, so we're going to help you out and give you a tax break today so you can save, and then won't be dependent upon us in retirement. But when you look at the rules, right, it's implicit that you're separated from your capital.
Absolutely.
No question. But it's done with a hug, right? We love you.
That's for your own good.
Yeah. It's for the children.
Yeah.
Right? That's how everything comes.
And the financial people are pretty upfront about this. The whole model is assets under management. Your assets under their management. And the entire compensation structure around the vast majority of the financial industry is built to incentivize separating you from control of your money. And that's what we get to deal with. And so people are inundated with that. And then these, you get a certain number of so-called experts who then go on the television programs and write articles online or blogs or whatever.
The radio,
yeah, whatever.
All day, every day, TV, radio,
constant,
print.
Surrounded by it. And so it becomes like the obvious thing to do is to bloodlet yourself of your own money so that when you have a need for capital, which you will need to buy whatever it is that you're going to buy beyond your regular, say, monthly or annual cash flow, then you get to go be dependent on somebody else for more and more cost.
Sounds like a great deal.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
Somebody.
And then on the other side of it, it's like, or you could own and control your own capital, guaranteed, values guaranteed to increase every year, tax deferred, no taxation on the buildup, full access to the capital when you want, how you want, at your discretion, under your own terms, in the most tax favored financial instrument in the world. And then you can see the numbers on the page if you have to see the freaking numbers.
I want one.
Yeah.
I want two. Give me two.
So can get frustrating at times when you meet these people. Oh, I don't like life insurance. All right.
You know, I spoke with a gentleman the other day. Great guy. He called a couple of weeks ago and was excited. Had a great long conversation with Jules. Right. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I've read Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. I'm in business. My business depends on equipment, right? And I'm carrying a lot of debt, but I'm uber focused and have been teaching a program in the church on how to get out of debt. So I've got it, understand that. And I have drank that Kool-Aid for umpteen years, right? And so we're systematically getting out of debt. We're going to be out of debt in a couple more years. But then I read Nelson's book, and it's like, oh my gosh, I needed some more capital for his business. So he goes to his banker, right? And his banker tells him, well, you need to sell your equipment, the very equipment that he needs in his business. How does that even make sense? Right? It doesn't. It didn't make sense to him either. Then he's like, oh, I get it. And about along the same time he read Nelson's book, I don't know the exact timing there. So he was just beside himself, right? Julie was beside herself because of the 16-year program that he has taught in his church, and they have lived in their life, at least partially successfully. He had to go through 08 and 09, about wiped him out. And if it hadn't been on that program, it would have been worse for them. You know what I mean? And so I had another conversation with him, and he's like, well, James, man, I love this. The first conversation was we just got to know each other and understood what his cash flows were. And I suggested that he might consider, moving some of the cash flows around, and you could start becoming your own banker right now. And then you just, envelop that into your plan. What you're already doing is just going to accelerate what you want, getting out of debt and then moving into retirement and having some passive tax-free income, right? Not changing anything, drastically what he was doing, right? Just bringing in a new asset that is diametrically opposed on the program that he taught in his church. So I said that for the third time, right? The program that he was teaching in his church for 16 years, and all of his children are following it, just enveloping, the infinite banking concept into what he's already doing. But this program says life insurance is just they're just on opposite ends of the pole spectrum, right? Yeah. So the second conversation, great guy too, nice guy, right? James, this makes so much sense to me, but I'm 3 years away of getting out of debt. So I think once I'm out of debt, I'm going to take all of this cash flow and start becoming my own banker. And well, of course I'm not surprised. How are you going to get 16 years off of you, right? 16 years of noise, 16 years of instructing financial noise in your church. I'm not surprised that you can't get that, because you're already facing a lot of opposition, right? You're going to have to, you're going to face, and it's going to cause a lot of conflict. And one thing that you thought was true and you believed and you've executed on, and then you discover the truth, and it's like, oh my gosh, your whole family's going along the path, hundreds of people in your church. And I said, that's pretty good. I'm Irish, right? And so I know who William Wallace was. and I know what he did, and Longshanks. I know the story before I watched that beautiful movie, Braveheart. I love the movie, right? So they're disemboweling this guy, and he yells out, "Freedom!" So that radio personality adopted that clip, and on Freedom Friday, people call in, "Oh, I'm out of debt, and they all get on the line and say, "I'm debt free," and then the background of Mel Gibson show, "Freedom." I mean, it just irks you because it irked me because I was Irish, and he's hijacking, a great piece of art, right? Not that movie was explicitly, historically accurate, okay? And so he laughed, and I said, "Look, it reminds me 8 years ago, I was driving home on a Friday. It's the last time I listened to that program. It was Debt Free Friday or whatever it's called." And this little lady calls in, about your wife's age, right? Gets a husband on the line, and he was about your age, right? "We're free. We're debt free. Freedom." And the wife says, "Now we can start saving for retirement." 56 or 57 years of age. I said, "You're in the same position. If you start now or never, that's your business, right? 3 years from now, you'll just be 3 years, and then you can start saving for retirement. 3 years closer to retirement." Made no sense. He's like, "Oh yeah, all that makes sense to me, James. I'm gonna, I got to go back and work the numbers because you're right." Yeah, it is right. The truth is the truth, right? Whether you agree with it or not, or,
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to share that.
What came to my mind when you're saying that is I think that the economic community, intellectual community, and then the financial community got into this idea that the only kind of debt is debt that somebody else controls. Therefore, all debt is bad all the time. Because they've got no conception of another kind of credit transaction where the individual can have control over the debt. And so I can kind of understand why that would come about. But then the other side of it is, behind all of that, is that there's something pure, great about only paying cash. Only using cash.
Not being beholden to a third-party lender.
But they're still giving up interest they otherwise could have earned.
No question.
And not avoiding the interest cost.
Right.
And, the idea of opportunity cost, the unseen cost of the transaction, is not discussed anywhere in the financial advising community. And then, churches, oh my gosh. I mean, sprinkle in the facts about modified endowment contracts and what a church or charitable entity could do that is not available in terms of the tax treatment to regular individuals. I mean,
that's a whole podcast right there, because that's really the other side to the church. That's a missing part to the church. As an entity, the church, right? What they can do with the infinite banking concept, unbelievable. Nobody even talks about it.
No.
There's a few, people that are aware of it and that understand it and knock it out of the park. But as, it's unknown. It's really unknown. You think the infinite banking concept is relatively known, relatively unknown. The ability a church would have, there is no taxation to a church whatsoever. So, oh my gosh, that's a whole. That's
the section that's not currently in my book. It's in a separate article. It's a separate article I have edit and drag and drop.
Yeah. All right. So how much time do we have here online? That should be enough. We should be able to tell if we like the sound or what. Right? Are you good? Anything else you want to say?
Oh,
all of it?
Going,
huh?
Yeah, we could keep going all day, but
I want to go eat.
Yeah, so do I. Okay.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the content, leave us a like or a thumbs up, share us with your friends, give us some feedback, and we'll see you next time.